We're recording this on April 1st, 2024. You guys do the fucking connections today?
No, I haven't yet.
The what?
No?
I did Wordle.
No? Just go ahead. Let me just go ahead. Perfect.
Wait.
Can we just get a live shot right now? So Connections is one of the New York Times games, like Wordle or the crossword. Can we just get a shot of Deepak opening and reacting to the Connections today? And then
Okay,
Bruno
so
will
I
do the thing?
can't do that on my phone without messing up the recording potentially. So let's see how this goes.
I mean,
Oh,
Okay. We'll find out.
and just like that, I do the thing.
Can you
Yeah,
see
Jack's
me?
got it now.
yeah,
Nope.
no, it's not good.
Doing the thing.
Oh, it's just emoji.
Yeah, they're all emojis. Not, in fact, words as they typically are.
Welcome to Nerd It Here Weekly, the only nerdy news show that comes to you each and every week that there is literally anything Godzilla related to talk about Godzilla. I'm Riley Trahan, Senior Entertainment Editor at Nerd It Here First, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts Deepak Chitnis.
We don't have to like each other, but we have to record together.
We have to record together. Jackson Trahan.
You can't keep saying as always if it's not the same situation that it typically is.
And producer Bruno on the ones and twos. This is the new normal, and I have to start saying as always at some point. So we're saying it as always. You guys are the ones.
I don't think it's the second time, though.
I was given
As
a...
If you
always,
say it with
I'm
enough
joined.
conviction, they'll believe it.
Thanks
The
for having
sentence
me.
stops being true. Yeah, no, happy to have you, Bruno. The sentence stops being true at the verb joined. After that, it's not always, but I am always joined.
I guess that's true, but that's not how truth works. Anyway,
I'm glad we could agree that I was right. Let's get straight to the roundup because we have a lot of nerdy news to talk about this week, and we're so excited to kick things off by talking about a little film called Alien Romulus. Deepak, on the one hand, I'm always excited for a new Alien movie, but on the other hand, this seems like it's going to be the monkey wrench that stops me from getting the Ridley Fever Dream trilogy that I was in the middle of.
I think the monkey wrench.
So
that
I'm a little
stopped you from
disappointed on
getting
that end. Where are you at with the
Ye-
new?
Yeah, look, I think the monkey wrench that stopped you from getting that happened in 2017. It was called Alien Covenant, and it did not do particularly well at the box office, unfortunately.
I loved it.
Oh no, I liked it too. I would have liked to see the trilogy play itself out. Having said that, where Covenant leaves us, I think you can connect the dots enough to get you where you need to be for the original Alien. So I don't know that it's necessary, quote unquote, to get that third movie. Romulus, from what little I know, because I purposely want to
Yeah,
avoid
that's
as much as possible about it, is that it takes place after Alien, but before Aliens.
Yep.
So in that 52-year gap that Ripley is floating in the ether. And it's directed by Fede Alvarez, who we all know from the Evil Dead reboot about 10 years ago. And then he also did the excellent contained thriller Don't Breathe, which is one of the most tense and viscerally uncomfortable film-going experiences I've ever had in a movie theater. So if anyone can bring Alien to life in a way that at least approximates what Ridley Scott was able to do in Alien, Prometheus, and Covenant, it's probably him. He has made a bold claim to the effect that he's doing something in this movie that has never been done in the history of film or sci-fi. I have no idea what that could possibly be. I know we've all conjectured about that, but it comes out in August, and that is probably my most anticipated movie of the year.
it is still a silly thing to say.
Oh yeah, I mean it's
I'll
probably
say-
going to be like it's an alien with pink blood or something.
I did see a theory somewhere of what
he
it could
has-
be.
He has some hoppy fucking face huggers in this trailer. I'll say that for sure.
Right.
Those bad boys are not
I heard
interested in staying on the
there's a reliance on more practical work this time versus the CG and Covenant.
I am hoping so. I have not had the opportunity yet. Hi, Bree.
So the
Breezy's here doing
specifics.
the pod.
So the specific scene he was talking about that, like, quote unquote, has never been done in the history of movies or sci-fi. He actually mentioned using practical effects for that one specifically, and like and he additionally mentioned in that same quote that how he managed to make sure he was capturing the horror correctly was he was watching the reactions of the boom mic guy who didn't have the script and didn't know what was going to happen. And so he like clocked his reactions to the scene. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is exactly what I wanted."
Okay,
Fantastic.
cool. That's
Great team.
about as much of a trailer as I need.
All right, next up in the roundup, Jackson, we got a Stardew Valley update 1.6 that did a lot to rejuvenate the game. And I was sort of made aware of this because at the exact same time, my wife, who is also a whole person in her own right, started getting very into playing Stardew Valley. So what do I need to know about this new update to make it look like I've been paying attention to this game for the last 4 years?
Yeah, it's pretty extensive. Obviously, Stardew Valley is a pretty, maybe not an old game, but it's been around for a little while now, and to get like new features like this is pretty rare. There are a few things that are like sort of bug fixy. Like, for example, it used to be faster for you to harvest crops from left to right instead of right to left, I think. Now they're both the same speeds. Littler like things and bug fixes like that. But maybe the bigger things is that there's a new type of farm, so you can have different farm types that specialize in different things. And the Meadowland farm seems to specialize in raising animals, so it has a special type of grass the animals really like, and you start off with a coop and some chickens. There's new NPC dialogue, which is going to be huge for anyone who's been playing this game for 10 years.
Yeah.
There's a new festival that happens in the desert, which is an area you unlock a little bit later in the game compared to a lot of the other ones. So that's kind of nice. Just a lot of quality of life stuff. If you haven't touched this game in a few years, it might be worthwhile to load it up again and see what some of the new stuff is. I also want to shout out in the slow progression of everything becoming a roguelike, they have added a mastery system. So once you max out your stats, you can basically reset them at the cost of, or at the cost of resetting them, you can gain a permanent buff in that sort of area. So you can get like an anvil once you max out your combat that lets you reforge certain items to get new stats and other stuff like that, which is, again, in terms of, there are people who play this game for way longer than I think Corner Ape ever expected them to. It'll help sort of elongate the playtime to match how long some people actually spend in these farms. So overall, I think it's pretty worthwhile. You should check it out. The list is way too long to go through everything. But if you probably already know about it if you're interested, but if you haven't heard, look it up.
Let me open up the conversation to everybody, and specifically I'll point it towards you, Bruno. What have you felt about these games sort of taking on this? I feel like our brains have almost been co-opted by this narrative of like, excuse me, I'm the best ongoing game. We weren't, it's not that we weren't done at release. It's that our ongoing support has been exemplary compared to the others in our field. How do you feel about that sort of like change on the narrative?
I mean, I personally don't think it has that much of an effect, at least on me personally. Just to put it into perspective, I've had Stardew Valley for the past few years now, but like, I swear to God, I have not. Oh, I'll wait for him to come back. But I've had Stardew Valley.
Having a technical difficulty.
Get your fucking snacks in line, brother.
No,
as
dude,
soon as
it's not letting me.
As soon as your munchies start interfering on my show.
There's not munchies. I just haven't eaten dinner.
Deepak, just give me your birthday date so that I can have an excuse to get you a mic. Anyways,
I got you, Bruno. It's in my phone.
Like, I've had Stardew Valley on my computer for a few years, and like, this is nothing against the game at all, but I just like haven't found the time or like motivation to actually like play it
or interest.
Yeah, exactly. And like, that's nothing against like the genre of game. Like, I grew up playing Harvest Moon, which is to this day one of my favorite games of all time. But at the same time, I just don't think that the like, I understand the entire like zeitgeist effect that Stardew Valley created and like how everyone came towards it, but I don't know. I don't think it's like driving force per se when it comes to like the video games in general.
Yeah, I hear you. It is something that's been interesting to me to see folks like, I think other examples like this are No Man's Sky or, I mean, even like Warcraft and those sort of massive online games in a different sense,
Right.
right? But these games that are in constant form of evolution.
I guess
I always wonder how they.
you could even throw in like Cyberpunk in there as well, because like it came out
Yeah, absolutely,
in 2020,
absolutely.
but like some would argue that it like quote unquote officially came out last year because of like the update 2.0 and everything.
The BAFTAs gave it an award for basically officially coming out last year.
It was my nominee for our 3Ds for best game of 2023, and I'll like die on that hill.
I'm with you.
I want to just shout out for any Stardew Valley fans again real quick that gift tastes have changed, including treasure chests are now universally liked. If you know, you know.
Perfect. Good to know. I know someone who will very specifically appreciate that knowledge because she's been at the end of her rope for what
Except
she's
by
supposed
Linus,
to give.
but I don't know if she's trying to romance the homeless man.
Jack, if you could give me one sentence to start Stardew Valley today, what would it be?
To start Stardew Valley?
To convince me
motivation.
Motivation.
Oh,
sell me on Stardew Valley.
Oh, geez. Like from the new stuff, you can own multiple pets now. That's pretty exciting.
I didn't know you could own pets in the first place. This is pretty good.
Oh yeah, that comes. I forget how you get it exactly, but yeah, you pick a dog or a cat early on, and then you end up with like a stray on your farm.
Okay.
I mean, it's like I said, it's a lot. Like it is kind of a new game, especially if you knew like all of the intricacies of the game. But it is.
Well, that's the thing is I think that would be my Bruno. If you want a one sentence thing to sell you on Stardew Valley, I think my thing would be actually knowing how that game worked made it such a different game than just playing it. Like there was a lot of depth in that, like secret maps and shit that people just full on never found. Right. So there's a lot in there to go. And the fact that they've juiced it now, combined with the fact that Maggie is so into it, I might wander my way back onto those servers pretty soon here.
There is multiplayer.
Hell yeah.
Hey,
all right, next up in the roundup. Hey, Game Boys, indeed. Another property we need to re-examine the IP relevancy of. Next in the lineup, what do we have? Oh, the Alamo Draft House is for sale. Guys, this aligns perfectly with my sort of cutting the Alamo out of my main media diet. Not because of anything the Alamo did. My season pass just lapsed, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to explore some new theaters in my area, see if I wanted to keep going with the ones I've been going with. But what do y'all think about and Deepak, I'll throw to you first since you probably have the most thoughts bubbling around that noodle ears. What do you think about the Alamo being up for sale in general? And then do you think this is going to just automatically go to a Netflix or an Amazon or someone? What with the new normal?
I was just kind of patting myself down to see if I had my wallet on me because I know I have a few bucks lying around. No. I really hope it doesn't go to a streamer. Alamo, I think is a really singular, interesting, cool, unique experience. And I would hope that I think it's interesting that it's up for sale. I think it's kind of going through the dire straits that theaters have in general been going through since the pandemic. And you would know better than me as far as the recovery of the Alamo business model in the time of, streamers and going directly to streaming and theaters generally being the purveyor of an exclusive experience that people like to have, but like to have only for certain movies. And the Alamo, as much as it caters to the multiplex crowd, also does a lot of stuff that caters to kind of the you and I crowd as far as the more esoteric fare. And for every movie like Joker we saw there, we also saw like 3,000 Years of Longing and the Uncut Gems and things like that. So I would hope that it kind of stays as maybe more of an art house kind of venue. I don't think it's really the right type of place to see the big movies because especially in the area that we live in, we have IMAX galore and Dolby galore. It's not the place I would go to see a Godzilla or a Transformers or a Marvel, but it is the place that I would go to see a movie like the ones I just mentioned. I know we saw like 1917 there, for example, and I also saw it at the IMAX a little bit later. And IMAX was obviously the superior experience, but there is something kind of communal, even more than in a normal theater with the food, and then you go to the bar after.
Yeah.
I hope it can survive. I really don't want it to become the kind of thing that is a Netflix or Prime kind of theater, but unfortunately,
Well,
that may be the marketplace that exists right now.
that's sort of the trouble that I also run into when I'm there, right? Like I do love the Alamo on paper, and I certainly love my local Alamo experience. I think I've actually I've been disappointed that since my season pass has lapsed and I've been going there less. I popped in there the other day to get a rewatch of Dune while I still could, because I'm sure that most of the IMAX screens are going to disappear to Godzilla, and then it's just going to be all the screens are gone. So I always wanted to get one more theatrical while I could. And while I was there, I saw that since I think this was my first Alamo visit of the year, which was startling. I know.
That's what I said.
That's what Jack said. Late March, my first trip to the Alamo. But they'd been putting up new posters. They'd been overhauled. Like, they'd clearly been making improvements to it that I'd been missing out on. But, for me, like, I think the perpetual problem of the Alamo will always be that, like, I want to go there because they will grouch at, like, I've been going there for years. I think there's been one time in my life that I had to ask them to grouch at, like, a talkie group. And, like, they did it in a really classy way, and it wasn't a problem after that, right? So, like, knowing that that's a backstop that I have is nice, but it's not a thing I take advantage of that often. But just, like, knowing that everyone who is there with the same sort of, like, mental ethos of, like, we're here to do this, I think that's good. But then also, like, it can be so distracting when someone's eating a plate of spaghetti, like, just so distracting.
I'm not a fan of the serving during the movie and having them walk in the aisles and having to serve people, and they'll stop and look at the orders. I mean, I think that does kind of break up the movie experience, but that's also why I don't necessarily want to go there if I'm seeing something that's like, I can't imagine watching Oppenheimer there, right? But
yeah, right.
Especially like in our specific experience, having the largest screen in the state, a literal 6-story screen, like an extra 10 minutes down the road. But for something where it's like, a smaller movie that is really for the film buff, who again will have that reverence for what we're doing there, and you've got the bar right there, you've got other people who are there watching it for largely the same reason as you, and they can do kind of the quirky stuff on the side, whether it's foreign film or throwback cinema, that kind of stuff.
I think that's really where the strength is.
Exactly. And I think if they want to refocus their business model on something like that, hey, all for it. And where do I sign up?
But that's my hope, is just that it doesn't turn into, hey, Tuesday nights, instead of watching some weird deep dive, old cut horror movie you've never heard of, now Netflix bought us, so now you're watching the new Netflix release, right? Like, that's the thing I don't want to see happen. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and they were getting the Netflix stuff. I know you saw The Irishman there, so they were getting that stuff already.
I mean, you guys want to set up a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe? Like, let's get this. Come on.
Help Riley, Deepak, Jack, and Bruno buy the Alamo.
Well, I know this is not your fault, because I just realized you were in Florida for a good chunk of the year, and that's why you hadn't gone. But at the same time, I do kind of blame you, because where the hell were you? You had your eye on.
Yeah, you were single-handedly supporting the Alamo, and now
I do
you're going under because you waned.
Yeah, right. First visit was in March. While I was gone, they hit the sales block.
There were very tight margins.
Next up, in a piece of intellectual property that we always like to check in on when there's news, but there's not often news. Universal has unfortunately delayed The Wolfman from filmmaker Lee Whannell, who directed The Invisible Man.
Monsterverse.
Stars
producer for James Wan.
Yep, and stars Christopher Abbott, who was in Poor Things. The film had originally been slated for a October 25th release to coincide with All Hallows Eve, but has now been bumped to the always prestigious category of January 17th. When all the best movies come out.
It's not a great date.
Yeah.
Not great, Bob.
Are we once again attending the funeral of the Dark Universe?
I thought we've done this before.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
We had a whole nerd out about it.
It's not promising, but I will say in its defense that in the last maybe 10 years, there's been kind of a rethinking of the traditional release date models. And just because something comes out in January doesn't necessarily, I mean, The Invisible Man was a January release. I remember that being the very last movie I saw in theaters before COVID hit.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
that obviously was a pretty good movie.
The first time I had my
did
Alamos
gangbusters business. Yeah. So it's not necessarily like the death knell that we used to think it is, but it's definitely not promising when it could have been a summer release or obviously an award season type of release. But keep an open mind. You never know. The track record is there for the filmmaker, so let's maybe defer to that.
Is this still strike stuff? Is it still strike delays?
It could be. There's definitely some stuff that has been stricken.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stricken by the strike?
That is still being impacted right now. For example,
don't think it's stroked.
It's struck. Rachel Zegler was supposed to be in Paddington 3, and I believe that she dropped that project because it was going through production as a non-union gig because of the international quality of it, I think.
Right.
So I do believe there are union strike impacts still reverberating. I wouldn't be surprised, even if, maybe it was in the writing process at the time, right? We don't have to assume it's because the movie sucks. And for sure, I don't want to assume it's because the movie sucks. It just makes me worried because they've had such a hard time making these gosh dang monster movies.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping. I'm hopeful. All right.
Did anyone watch Last Voyage of the Demeter? And how was that, if anybody did?
I really have been waiting for Peacock to add that, and they have not for some insane reason.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of been waiting for the same thing, so I was hoping someone beat it.
No, but it's been on my radar.
That doesn't bode well.
It always looked really good, and I heard it was good. It's just one of those things that people could not care enough about to go to theaters, and I can't blame anyone because I did the same thing.
I was in the same boat, and I almost
the Demeter.
I was also that was the boat. Yeah, no, I almost always show up for if you can like. It doesn't even have to be
Dracula.
I'm saying it doesn't even have to be store brand Dracula. Like you can just waive like discount like rebate
Spanish Dracula.
I was gonna ask, did you guys watch specifically Spanish Dracula?
Mm-hmm. Fred
Dracula.
And that was it was great, and we had a great time. Fred says he hasn't seen it, but he was going to, and then he heard it was meh. So it sounds like we all had the same experience with Voyage of the Demeter.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened with me. I was very excited for it because like I'm always as you guys already know about like my experience with Dracula shows. I'm a fan of Dracula, and I was excited for Last Voyage of the Demeter. But then the review wave came in, and I was like, I'm not so excited anymore. I don't know what to do.
My next nerd out is us watching Killers of the Flower Moon. So
dear God, no.
That would be a good time.
Hey guys, I already know that I'm gonna be
what I
sick
did
that
in
day.
almost every imaginable way. First of all, a movie no one's ever seen. Secondly, short. Third, I had a lot of interesting things to say about
it. I'm picking a 4-hour Bollywood
movie.
I'm picking a 4-hour Bollywood movie. We're gonna do it.
Wow, I really
that would be better. I'd probably have a good time.
Let's show them Triple R. They like Triple R.
We've already done like a whole nerd out on Triple R.
We did so much Triple R.
Damn.
Finally,
we're notable Triple R stands.
Your favorite Triple R podcast. The last story in the roundup this week is Sam Raimi is still not directing Spider-Man 4. Okay, listen, it's people. There's so many rumors all the time.
Let it go.
Where are these rumors that exist?
So
they pop
Jack.
up like a cicadas every couple of years.
every couple years. Every couple days there's a Spider-Man movie news.
Well, but no,
or rumor.
So back
Andrew
in the
Garfield
day,
Spider-Man 3 and Tobey Spider-Man 4 keep cycling into the Twitter sphere.
Back in the day, Sam Raimi was supposed to be doing a fourth Spider-Man movie starring Tobey Maguire and featuring the Vulture. That
it's going to be John Malkovich as the Vulture and
John Malkovich as the Vulture.
Kind of upset I don't have that now.
That rumor has
like
sort of
20 years ago.
Yes, that rumor has sort of lived on the internet for the last 20 years, on and off, just ad infinitum, and it's surfaced its raunchy and enigmatic head again this week
Raunchy.
And the pull quote you will see people serious journalistic endeavors running with is Sam
They're not
Raimi.
serious.
No. They are. I'll send you a link in a minute. They rhyme with the Bollywood reporter. Are going with headlines like Sam Raimi not working on it yet.
Okay. I think this is enough.
But I am just here to tell you that if you open the article and read the quote, it is just Sam Raimi once again saying, "I'm not making that movie,
not making a full
maniacs."
Spider-Man movie 20 years ago.
I think they like what they've got going with Tom Holland.
Is he even doing Doctor Strange 3?
No.
Can we at least get like that incremental step forward before we go all the way to Spider-Man 4?
Tobey Maguire's 50 and like doesn't want to be Spider-Man anymore.
Can I just please read the quote that says, "Over the weekend, Raimi admitted that he hadn't, quote, heard about, end quote, another sequel starring Tobey Maguire."
News to me.
Yeah, I'm down if they'll do it. Done.
He read the rumors, like someone handed him the rumors, and his response was, he said, quote, "I'm not actually working on that yet." And then I'm reading off the AV Club, and they editorialize with the phrase, "We can only imagine how much he regrets saying yet."
Can you imagine the drool coming off of the journalist who handed him that and got the yet in return, and immediately was like, "My time to shine."
Hey, we
Look,
go.
I'm
Fine,
like
like,
to your point. I'm sure if Marvel came to him and was like, "Hey, this is what we're doing next," he would take the money. But yeah, I don't think that's where we're at, sort of as a nation anymore.
I think it would be
All right.
Sony coming to him, but yeah.
Yeah.
When we get back on the other side of the break, we are going to talk through some of the best April Fool's pranks of 2024.
The fuck? Okay.
I'm assuming Riley has something very specific in mind.
Not even. I wish I
Well,
did.
he's
No,
gonna prank
I'm getting ready for one of my signature pranks. I'm so funny in that way. So I have a list of some of the things. You know how y'all know how companies like to do a silly one every once in a while.
I'm familiar.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard rumors.
You guys maybe
Scares.
saw about how 7-Eleven was like, "We're gonna have saucy hot dog water."
I
Yeah.
hadn't.
Yeah, well, that was probably the
That one
biggest
got by
prank.
me somehow.
That's probably the biggest company prank of this year, that they were saying they were going to start releasing seltzer water that tasted like hot dogs.
Jack immediately starts Googling.
As the three of you all type in
Jack's like,
bubbly
"No, I
hot
didn't
dog
know."
7-Eleven water. Yeah. So
Is that only at select locations?
no locations as far as I'm aware. But
To
I am going to take you
35.
through some of, and Jack, Bruno, I'm pointing these mostly over towards y'all because these are video game pranks for the most part. I'm going to take you through. I'm going to take you through some of my favorite pranks of the year, and we can talk about, how you react to them as the victim of the April Fool's prank. Here we go. Number one.
Go on.
Pokemon is holding a Pokemon Sleep Championship tournament.
I do remember Pokemon Sleep.
You do
So I'm
remember
glad
Pokemon Sleep?
This
Okay.
rings the bell. What was this game?
Yeah, can you translate Pokemon Sleep for us?
It wasn't a game. It's a sleep app, as far as I'm aware. It was a part of a very strange phase right before the Switch came out, where Nintendo seemed like they were pivoting into health technology. Like
So
they had a
players
whole
from around the globe
presentation
an
about it.
8.5-hour tournament to prove they can sleep better than anyone else.
I remember this was something that they were specifically trying to hog after like reports came out that Pokemon Go was like being beneficial
messing with people's sleep schedules.
Well, no, actually, that was being beneficial to people's like fitness, and then like
Oh,
they were like,
sure,
oh,
yes, okay, that
like,
makes sense.
Let's
actually.
like keep it going with like the health binge and stuff. So I remember.
Yeah, I don't know if it
vaguely
became
parts
a third pillar in the way they wanted, but this is a hilarious idea to have to get people to sleep competitively. I love that. we should encourage more of that behavior.
You're in on that one. All right. Next up, Cyberpunk 2077 is getting a limited time floppy edition that comes with 97,619 3.5-inch floppy disks.
Now that is what I thought.
I really wish that was
terrible mouthfeel on floppy edition.
No. It fits perfectly, especially if they have the burning crotch guy from the game as like the marketing tool.
Oh, that's funny. No, the marketing image seems to just be the actual game art box in front of just so many
stacks of floppy disks. That's pretty good.
That's so wild because there's not even floppy disks in the game.
Yeah, it's in the future.
The actual game, as they point out here, is 70 gigabytes to install.
Yes. I think it's more now, but yeah, go on.
Which would be quite a few floppos.
Yeah, I hope they did the math on that right. I'll double check later, but if that's not the right number of disks, I'm gonna write them letters.
So what fantasy machine exists that takes floppy disks but also has the computing power?
Compute to run cyber. Yeah, you've really been like, I get that people like to upgrade their GPU before anything else, but you've maybe been putting stuff off too long at that point.
In fact, you convinced me to buy a floppy disk drive for my computer.
I'm sure you can USB one in fine.
Exactly.
It has to have a USB port.
Well, yes.
All right. I've got two more here, and then Bruno, I dropped a video in the Discord that if you can't load it in now, it's not a big deal, but I was just curious if you'd be able to plop it in.
I'll load it into post if anything.
Yeah, for sure. The next one I wanted to mention was that Sega revealed that they are done with downloadable content and are moving on to cartridge loadable content.
Hell yeah! I just want them to do that. Are you sure that's a prank?
This is the thing: is they released this like they thought it was the funniest thing in the world,
and everyone else was like, "Yeah, physical media, please."
Right? No. They were like, "Well, what if we put out a cartridge that just made Sonic's head bigger?" And I'm kind of like, "Yeah, what if you did that?" Please do. Please.
Yeah.
Do
also,
that.
Sega's at an inherent disadvantage because I believe it was last year that they released Sonic Gets Murdered on a Train, the game.
Yeah.
Oh,
hold on.
Was last year.
Yes. No, and it was a
Sonic Murder Mystery was a game that was released for April Fool's Day last year. That was just a pretty good visual novel about Sonic and his friends.
Was last year? We always try and.
I'm looking at it now. It's 2023.
We always try and spotlight the April Fool's content if we can. When was the KFC dating simulator?
Oh God!
Wow,
that might have been the year before.
That was like 5 years ago.
I Love You, Colonel Sanders. It was the name, and it released. Oh God, yeah. Deepak nailed it. September of 2019. That's so much older than I thought.
We're so old. We talked about that on a podcast we recorded. That's
why I remember it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll try to see if I can get that episode snippet, clip it here.
Yeah. Please slide it in just to make us feel old. All right. So I have two more. The first one that we're definitely going to talk about right now is the Razer Cthulhu, a gaming chair with 8 AI arms ready to do your bidding.
I'm sorry, is that fake?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
So
for now,
Razer, the gaming chair company, put out an ad today, complete with a video to spotlight the product. It's the ultimate gaming chair, the Razer Cthulhu.
That's pretty good. I only see. Oh no, there are 8 arms.
Never leave your chair again, as 8 independent robotic arms cater to your every need. Learn more, razer.to/Cthulhu.
So in the season finale of season 8 of Seinfeld, it is George declaring it the summer of George. And he does this by buying a recliner with the fridge built right into it.
Yes, this is a summer of George-ass chair.
And the entire summer, he never leaves the chair, so his muscles atrophy, and he ends up in the hospital. They have to rebuild his muscles like Neo in the Matrix. And that is.
I thought this show was about nothing.
Well, here's the thing, Deepak. You won't have to worry about having a Summer of George like experience because, and this is dialogue from
I long for it.
The Razor Cthulhu is outfitted with a Razor Sky Snaps chip and trained with over 1,337 terabytes. We can assure you 96.9% chance that the tentacles will always listen to you.
So this is not Spider-Man 2.
Elite terabytes is pretty good. No, they're definitely evoking
This is
Doc Ock
Octavius
with the arms,
It is
etc.
absolutely Spider-Man 2. Yes.
No.
Yes. All right,
Also, shout out to Razer because on this page they do have like check out our other chairs, and then it's just real
And then they just
advertisements
do
for their
normal
real
ones.
product.
Go ahead and click through, baby. Buy a chair while you're on the site.
How much does the chair cost? Out of curiosity.
Well, I mean,
The
they're
fake-
real chairs, or the fake one is not for sale.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, there's no pricing, unfortunately, on the Cthulhu chair. You have to
The
just
real
get on the
ones
wait
are
list.
probably like 3 or 4 figures.
Yeah, I would
Gaming
have.
chairs
If
are
they were
silly.
going to go all the way, I thought they'd come up with a fake price.
This is
All right, and then we're
This is a complete sidetrack, but does anyone remember when just Saints Row released a special edition of their 4th game for like $1 million? That was probably a prank.
Sounds about right. And now they don't exist anymore.
all right. We are going to go ahead and transition into the next story here, where we're going to talk about clone sheep. But on the way, we want to give you a look at one more. Well, it is an Elden Ring based thing, but one more April Fool's prank that caught our eyes. It's about the Elden Ring expansion, and it's maybe not what you were expecting.
Oh wow, I had such clear expectations.
Well, so that's the thing, Deepak, is so it says Elden Ring expansion, but then it's just the words, they just keep getting bigger.
They just get big, is the thing
Oh,
about
I
them.
understand.
So you
How
thought
come
maybe,
Elden Ring is always a game that's like $15? Is it not good, or is the game that they sell like in Best Buy not the full game?
It should be the full game for now. It's going to get a DLC
Yeah.
very soon, but it's also exceptionally good.
Yeah, no.
yeah,
Okay.
it's yeah.
You would
I
hate
mean, it came out a while ago. That's probably why. Yeah, you'd have a bad time.
Yeah, I'm not
What?
interested.
What games do you like, Deepak?
I
We
did
could- okay.
almost buy the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 the other day, but it was like, 15. I'll wait till it's 10.
My guy has a hard time in an open world.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
So open worlds are the issues. Okay.
He
But like you've been playing
I really don't mean this in a disparaging way, and I apologize if it comes off like it is, but he really does go. His proclivities are against a lot of the trends in modern game design, which makes it
Does.
rough for my boy out here these days.
Just really wants to walk forward and kind of have the thing sort of presented
Okay.
in a pretty clear way as he goes. Yeah. I mean, this was the thing we always go back to, and this is all fucking bonus features or whatever, but like Deepak played the Assassin's Creed game in the Sparta one, and
Honestly.
right.
Mhm.
And like this, I'm not doing a character or a bit or anything now. There is a setting in that game when you set it up where they are like, if you have played Assassin's Creed 1,000 times, you might not want us to tell you where every fucking thing is anymore, because we've been doing that for 15 years. If you just want to find the shit, check this box.
Mhm.
And Deepak started playing the game with that box checked. So like it
Ooh.
was just like an accident, and like didn't realize that he had like basically super hard mode turned on, and he was like, where the fuck am I supposed to go? And it was like, well, there should be a yellow circle being like, come over here. But he didn't have that because of this tick thing that he'd done. And so after that, he was just like, fuck every open world game ever. And I was like, well, usually they do say walk this way, but you didn't have that benefit.
To be
which is fine.
fair, I am periodically returning to Red Dead 2, and I am enjoying what I played of that.
I was
Hell
going.
yeah.
I was going to ask.
But
you
I
how
think
you've
that
been
might
doing
have
on
more to
that.
do with that might have more to do with the media of the Old West rather
Sure.
than
I think
being Leonidas. Yeah.
listen, kind of to what we were talking about with the rom-coms before, I think Red Dead 2 is a much better game in a lot of ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right. For the mini, we're talking about a story that's a little old now, but I can basically assure you haven't heard about it yet. Headline from the Washington Post.
Everyone outside of the show, because
Yeah, right. No, we've all heard about it.
Montana rancher illegally created giant hybrid sheep to sell for thousands. Here's the lead. A Montana rancher created giant sheep and sold them for hunting, creating the lambs by using illegally imported genetic material from the world's largest sheep species, federal prosecutors say. Arthur Jack Shobarth, aged 80, created more than 150 cloned embryos of the species, and the species, by the way, is the Marco Polo Argali sheep, and successfully bred a male Marco Polo Argali, selling one of its offspring for $10,000, according to the criminal complaint filed against him by federal prosecutors. He used the sheep semen to breed it with other species, creating
What did you think he used, Deepak?
and selling them to people in Texas and Minnesota. I've been yelling at all you guys about this story for the last couple of weeks because I think it's insane and crazy sauce, and I want.
We live in the future. That's true.
Wait. What did he call this new
Cohen
species,
brother.
Riley?
They were cloning back in '97.
Riley, what did he call this new species?
What do you call his big new sheep?
It's the Montana Mountain King.
It is the Montana Mountain King. He has such a big, proud sheep. It's one half Marco Polo Argali. It's one half big prize trophy. It's all incredibly massive sheep.
So we made
What is the
165.
real story here? The illegal importation or
Felony
the
wildlife
new
count.
species?
In 1997, a team of scientists with funding could clone one sheep. I think the story here is that some nobody in the middle of Montana was able to secretly clone 165 sheep for profit.
Over the course of 8 years.
Were they cloned or were they bred? It sounds like he had the semen.
Well, if you only have the semen, you got to do cloning. Is the thing about sheep.
There's no in vitro happening there.
He started off with sheep. He started off with sheep tissue. He started off with sheep DNA tissue, and he created 165 cloned embryos from that sheep tissue.
And so those
apparently at $10,000 a pop.
He then took those embryos and implanted them into ewes on his ranch, which resulted in the birth of purebred male Marco Polo Argali.
Yeah, non-Marco Polo sheep.
Okay, so I understand. I wasn't paying attention initially.
Right, which he named the Montana Mountain King, which are these
He's doing this at 80? Good for him.
Yeah, which are these giant fucking sheep that hunters want to hunt for sport.
Yeah, that's what catches me. That's the only reason he went into this.
Right, because
that I don't care for.
He was like, I know some crazy people who will pay a lot of money to shoot a big ass sheep.
I think that's the part of the story where my brain boils. Is who pays 5 figures to shoot a sheep?
That's what I was saying. I didn't understand how this could be profitable until you said he sold one for $10,000. And now apparently there's a market.
Motherfuckers for $10,000 a pop because somebody wants to shoot them for their big horns.
I hate that we're talking about this, but Riley brings up a good point. That I read through this article 5 times, trying to figure out where is the worth of just shooting these things.
Look, I am not a person who has ever understood, cottoned to, been excited or enthusiastic about the concept of hunting, right? I think, listen, I don't want to upset Aaron Taylor Johnson. It's not for me. But
Craven, yes.
Yeah, right. That's why. If you're going to hunt, if you want to be proud, if you want to be a guy, listen, I have a Muppet here. I made this Muppet myself. I have often thought about mounting this Muppet in a sort of position that makes it look like I did hunt it for sport.
You mean mounting it on the wall? Okay, I thought you mounted it in a position.
I've got this little guy right here.
There he is.
And
I just sometimes I hear.
I would just like to have him coming out of the wall, like I killed him.
But that's the closest you've done.
Right. It's very funny, right? It's a good joke. So I understand the appeal of having something on your wall and being like, I killed that. For me, I only want Muppets, but I understand the appeal. But wouldn't you want a tiger? A sheep is just such a
big sheep though.
It's a big sheep.
Here's what I'm caught up on. Someone should tell this guy about fucking.
Just get 2 sheep.
get another sheep, idiot. You keep cloning the male sheep, but you're never going to get where you need to be.
But they're bigger. They're big. Powerful male sheep.
I feel like you don't develop a hobby like this if fucking is a normal part of your day-to-day life. And that may be where the discrepancy is.
That's probably true. We're going to come back after the break. We're going to talk summer movie preview.
Yeah, no, I need a breather.
I'm glad that landed.
All right. I wanted to end out the show this week. I've got the full slate of summer movies ahead of me. I am not going to hit them all, but I am going to hit. I'm going to hit the big ones, right? We're not talking artsy shit. We're not talking. We're not talking movies that everybody, is coming to us to ask about. Oh, Deepak, I heard the new Godzilla movies and artsy masterpiece.
Happens to us all the time.
Right. No, we're talking Fall Guy.
Godzilla -2. Oh.
Right. Yeah. No. They keep trying to make that lizard do math. All right. Here we go. We're going to start. Deepak, tell us for the record, definitively, when does the summer movie season start?
Ever since Fast 5 came out, it has started in mid-April.
Interesting. Yeah. I think that's probably fair.
This makes me more confident.
I would definitely.
So now let me pull up this year's summer movie so I can tell you the definitive stuff.
I've just got some stuff starting in May, but no, I mean I think you're probably right. Like I never feel like
I know I'm right.
Oh, that's good.
That's why we love you, Deepak.
I just always think that Memorial Day is late for me.
I'm gonna tell you right now. April 19th is the start of the summer movie season because we're going to get one of the most highly anticipated movies of the millennium. It's Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Game.
Oh, Christ alive. I'm so excited.
Please go dig a hole.
Jack already was telling me.
Yeah, I have plans with a friend of mine to watch and make fun of that movie together.
May 3rd,
to be fair, there is also the same day in theaters Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare with everyone's favorite Superman, Henry Cavill. So
yes,
that might actually be it.
He's a fucking boxer, isn't he? He's a bit of a World War I man, but he's a boxer, isn't he?
Hello, Puppet. How about a spot of fish chips? Yeah?
I am Guy Ritchie. I'm a bit.
Is this what the podcast is now?
It is when Guy Ritchie comes up. All right, May 3rd, 2024. The Fall Guy, directed by David Leitch, starring Ryan Gosling as a stuntman in search of his favorite Aaron Taylor Johnson. What do we think?
It looks dumb.
I mean,
he'll probably make some money.
So, like, early reviews have come in for this movie stating that he's already topped his, like, Ken performance, which I think is, like, going a little bit too far as the review goes. But it does make me intrigued to go watch the movie and see, like...
It does feel pretty recency bias, right? Like, I don't think they'd be saying that if this was, like, the next movie that he makes. It's just because it's the last thing he did.
This is the natural conclusion of Barbenheimer, right? Because it's him and Emily Blunt coming together. So.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like it's definitely like who was it? David Leitch just like saw that happen and was just like, "Hey, you guys want to come do this movie real quick?"
Well, it's funny you mentioned David Leitch because the problem with David Leitch is that he has yet to make a good movie.
Okay, no.
I know that is your problem with him.
There is no problem with David Leitch. That is your problem with David Leitch. I watched Bullet Train in 4D, sir.
Yeah, Bruno and I are big fans of Bullet Train, but we know that that's a contentious opinion.
Deepak, it's our problem with David Leitch. Deepak, you and I are okay. We understand. Yeah. Next up, Friday, May 10th, 2024, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm excited for a fourth Apes movie. I wasn't expecting it, but I'm down for it.
Well, no, we got.
Yeah, I keep.
No, you're excited for an eighth Apes movie or whatever the fuck.
No, I'm here for it.
Yeah, it looks interesting. It apparently the pitch that Wes Ball made to the studio is that it's Apocalypto with apes, and that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll see it in theaters, but I'll see it.
I just never expected when the first of these remakes came out that we'd still be watching them in 2024.
The first one looked stupid, and then it ended up actually being kind of good.
Actually, yeah.
And then they actually all ended up being pretty good. So,
the first one I think is the weakest.
Yes, I think
No.
the second one is the best. War is the best.
War is the third
Only
one. War is the
11.
third one.
Dawn.
War's
Dawn
the
is the
third.
Dawn
Dawn,
is the
yeah.
Yeah.
They have tough names. But yeah, I also
Bad
the
naming
first
system.
one. The first one came out in the middle of James Franco's like insufferable period.
Yeah, he had come off the Oscar nomination. That's why
Right.
he was in everything for a while there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What about tarot? We've got a tarot card movie coming out.
We have a tarot card movie coming out?
What
Yeah.
date is that?
Yeah, that's gonna be a no for me, dog.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you're talking
That's
Not
about.
unless
also-
I go with very specific people.
That's also
I think you
May
went
10th,
backwards on this
2024.
one.
No, that's also May 10th. It's the same weekend as Apes. It's
I'm
a
saying May 3rd here.
oh, sorry. I've got it May 10th on my end, but
If it's the same weekend as Apes, I'm gonna be very busy doing other things.
yeah, it seems, it's in the arena
Oh.
of your Ouija's,
You know-
of your
You know who's in this movie? Is my daughter from the Toyota commercial.
Oh!
Wait a minute. What?
Do you not know that
Oh.
he was in a Toyota commercial?
Listen,
Yeah,
I
but
found
that's
out like
square one.
2 months ago that he was in Westworld. I don't know much about the
Yeah, this was during that period.
This was the same time.
Yeah, it was during my my Hollywood era, as Taylor
She,
Swift would say.
she was in the back seat of Deepak's car. All right.
Because he's a good dad.
Yeah, he was driving to a
It's
soccer
not like
practice.
that. Not
They
not
looked
like
at windmills or something. Friday, May 17th, we get the Amy Winehouse biopic titled Back to Black. We also get the John Krasinski picture If, about a girl who discovers that she can see everyone's imaginary friends. I will admit that while I am sort of morbidly curious about the Back to Black biopic, I am sort of hopeful that we are coming to the end of the sort of grim
the
ass
biopic phase?
fucking, yeah,
The
like
music
cradle to
biopic
grave
I mean,
music. Yeah.
So, like, to your note, Riley, I was doing just like some statistic work the other day just because I was fucking curious. Since the year 2000, 42% of Oscar nominees have been from biopics. So I don't think it's
Good
gonna.
Lord.
I don't
Is it-
think it's gonna
This
end.
movie is this movie being made for any other reason than that the actress kind of looks like her?
When did she die?
Oh, like 2008.
No.
Am I right? Am I right on that?
No, much later than that.
No, I think he's right. Well, no, 2000.
When did she
2008 was
die
Michael
coldly?
Jackson.
2011.
What was?
Yeah.
Oh,
2000
That was
Oh,
much later.
Okay, but so
She saw
Probably-
Slumdog Millionaire. She was around.
she died. It was after she was dead for 10 years. Somebody went, let's do a movie, right?
Right.
Like if you just
Mhm.
do the math, it was like 10 years after her death.
Someone
somebody
saw
went,
that show on HBO with all the financial people in London and went, "Oh, she kind of looks like her. Let's get her to do an Amy Winehouse movie."
Yeah.
It's
right,
apparently all produced by her family, by the way. So don't expect like
The
Well,
truth.
a warts and all kind of telling.
Mhm.
Listen, if you have any interest in looking up the Amy Winehouse story, the warts and all telling is there for anyone to find out about, and it is some rough shit. I just hope, much like
There
Amy
do be
Winehouse's
warts.
acting career, I hope she comes out okay, because I don't think she was ever the villain. Are we unmoved by If? We have nothing to say about the mind of John Krasinski and his wild modern
I'm
fairy
not
tale?
interested in watching Ryan Reynolds play himself yet again.
Good deal.
If there's one movie like that I have to watch this year, it's the one with Hugh Jackman.
What about Furiosa, a Mad Max saga coming to
That I will be
Yes,
seeing. opening
absolutely.
weekend.
May 24th. Yeah, I think we're excited about this one all around.
Be on the
Jackson?
lookout for a Watchman for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll see it. I wasn't when not the original when Fury Road was coming out. I remember being too cool for school for it, but then everybody talked about how great it was. But I never saw it in theaters or anything because I was late to the party. So maybe I will for this one.
That
That's-
was a fun 3D movie.
That was
That's
like
sort of where I'm curious about is like Mad Max Fury Road did not necessarily do box office like boffo bucks,
Mhm.
but I feel like it lives in everybody's memory now.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And I'm curious if this one has like a hangover effect.
How it will do on that.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
My
That's-
only
that's the thing,
concern
there's,
with
like-
this one.
Yeah, go ahead, Deepak.
Well, my only concern with this one is that Fury Road is one of those of a number of Hollywood productions over the decades where it was hell to make. And I think because of how difficult it was to make, it became something transcendent. And this one, they have not gone through the same trouble. They've made it in Australia rather than Tunisia.
Right.
They've kind of had, I guess, I mean, as far as I'm aware, an easier time of making it. So I don't know how that will translate into the finished product. But I've seen now both the trailers in various movies that I've seen over the last couple months, and it, by all accounts, looks very, very good. So I'm just going to go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt because it's George Miller and Mad Max. So.
I'm very hopeful to be sure.
As far as the recent trailers go, I don't know what people are talking about, like about the CGI looking bad. Because, like, first off, it looks just like how the first movies came off, and I like
right. And just, the first one CGI was not the most convincing either.
Yeah, and like the thing is, like, even if it comes off unconvincing, like I think that's almost intentional as to be like part of the aesthetic of the movie.
Right. Yeah, there's a cartoonish they lean into for sure.
The question is, do they have what it takes to make it epic? And I think George Miller does.
Is it still George Miller? That was going to be my question. Is this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It is still, and he's brought back a lot of the same people, except for the cinematographer is different this time.
Yeah. That same weekend, Chris Pratt is bringing our favorite orange cat to the silver screen. Garfield will be gobbling up some lasagna that weekend and trying to figure out who his dad is. Nice. Also. All right.
Hey, the last time we doubted Chris Pratt and his voice acting, we ended up.
He delivered a terrible voice acting performance in the Super Mario Bros.
Okay, no, I actually liked him in Super Mario Bros.
Yeah,
I didn't.
So I'm gonna hope that it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's Garfield. I don't really care one way or the other. Hopefully, it's good, but if it's not, whatever.
The weekend of Jack's birthday, 3 movies come out. Those 3 movies will now be discussed by you 3 panelists. The first one who speaks up gets their first pick. The films are Bad Boys Ride or Die, The Crow, and Hitman.
So I just saw the trailer for Bad Boys with Godzilla X Kong. I had not seen it earlier. It looks like more of the same from the last one, which I thought I know I've seen it in the theater. I remember bits and pieces of it, but I don't know if I remember those bits from the trailer or from the movie itself because it was so forgettable. They also showed the trailer for The Crow, which looks as generic as they can possibly come. It's directed by Rupert Sanders, who I believe directed Rise of the Planet of the... No, he directed the Snow White and the Huntsman. Never mind.
Yeah.
And then there's Hitman, which is the Netflix movie by Richard Linklater with our best friend Glenn Powell. And I've heard very good things about that, so I'm looking forward to it.
I do think the gist of Hitman, and then Jack and Bruno, you guys can weigh in on Bad Boys or The Crow as necessary. But the gist of Hitman basically seems to be Glenn Powell in a Richard Linklater movie pretending to be a hitman, which he is not actually. He's actually like a substitute teacher. But you know, I think that sort of like mistaken identity crime comedy thriller seems fun. But again, like it seems like a different avenue than a lot of stuff we've seen from them before.
Sure.
Right.
Anybody?
Speaking of stuff we've seen before, they've made The Crow already.
They already did make The Crow one time. And they've been spending about 20 to 25 years going, I'm pretty sure everybody wants to do another Crow.
Yeah, so like I do think, like, just based off how the trailer came, I do think that yes, they're trying to like do a modernized version of The Crow, but in my opinion, it did come off good, or like at least intriguing. I'm not keeping my hopes up about it, but I'm also not like putting them down. I understand why some people are against the whole idea of like modernizing certain stories, but in some cases they can work. Just like look no further than Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. Like, if that worked, I feel like anything can work. So let's just wait and see how The Crow goes.
Absolutely. I think for me, the big thing is that that's just been a sequel that people have been like trying to figure out a script for basically since the first one came out. And I'm so curious now to see like, what is this product going to be after it's been...
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, that's all. It's just like after people have spent so long trying to say, you know, it's sort of the same thing with, I don't, it probably won't even be inside of our bounds for what we're talking about now, but the Beetlejuice sequel, right? It's kind of the same for me, where I'm like, people have been kicking around pitches and theories and scripts and treatments and all that shit for so long that, like, what is it actually? Like, what did they decide it should be?
Right.
There were so
I
many
saw
options.
the trailer. They
Or
showed
like,
the trailer for that also with Godzilla, and that looked
Juice is
very
loose, baby.
not.
or like Austin Powers 4, where it's just been talked about so much that it's more of like a meme than a real thing.
Precisely.
Dr.
Or
Dre's The Chronic.
Chinese Democracy. Friday, June 14th, Inside Out 2, young Riley ages into her anxiety and her ennui. This one looks pretty good. I'm excited. I was disappointed at the number of voice actors from the original who weren't returning for the sequel because they're too expensive now. That was a bummer for me.
I didn't even know that.
But other than that, I think this one looks good.
I think it's interesting as a in terms of, you know, it's very off. I think I talked about this once before, so I'll try to keep it brief. But when you're making a sequel to a movie, especially children's movies, it's pretty often to try to market towards the same kids who watched the first one. And so you have to like adapt your themes and storytelling and stuff to fit the age group that they are in now. And Inside Out came out, you know, at a very specific sort of demographic about 9 years ago. And I think that in terms of like the emotions and feelings that those kids might have felt in the last 9 years, I think there's a lot of stuff to work with there. So I really think this one's all, I mean, like a lot of things, it's all about the execution, and how and what they try to cover will make or break it for me.
I definitely agree. Deepak, can I throw you one that I know you and I are excited about? It's technically two movies. We'll talk about both of them right here. Sam Worthington, our guy, going to be starring in Kevin Costner's Horizon: An American Saga.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I know we talked about it a little bit offline, all of us. It's a two-parter, and both parts are coming out, one at the beginning, one at the end of summer. I did watch the trailer for this, and it looks like a Kevin Costner Western, which is fine by me. Good cast, it looks like. He's got Will Patton in there, so they've been on a million things together, going back to Yellowstone and No Way Out, and Danny Houston's in it. Deanna Miller of Curb Your Enthusiasm fame is in it. Got good. I'll watch it. I really have no general sense of what it's about because I think I watched the trailer on mute. But yeah,
I do.
Please go ahead.
I do believe that like right now we have two movies coming in. I think it's like June and August, respectively.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that the original plan, and I don't know if they're still going with this or not, is that it's going to be 4 movies total, and it's going to be spanning like I think 100 years out of the American Revolution period is like the total like time period that we're going to be covering. So I'm really intrigued to see like how they go with that, and like just
it's
yeah. Sam Worthington is doing the Avatar thing here too. It's got like 4 movies all set to go.
And
if the first 2 do well enough, we'll get the next 2. So
and since you mentioned Sam Worthington
in the can.
And Avatar, like Giovanni Ribisi is in this as well. Just another Avatar name.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I think that it's I think the first one might start during the Revolution, but they're all going to go up through the Old West and stuff, right? These are two, for example,
this says it's set in the American Civil War period, the first one.
Oh, okay, maybe the first one's the Civil War. That would make sense. So, the Horizon 1 comes out the same weekend as A Quiet Place Day 1, and I am so much more into Horizon than Quiet Place right now.
But I don't mean to keep talking about the Godzilla experience, but there were a bunch of these trailers that I saw this weekend for the first time because of Godzilla. And of all the trailers that we saw, they showed because it's AMC, they showed like 20 trailers before the movie. Quiet Place Day 1, by orders of magnitude, got the biggest response out of the crowd.
I believe it.
It's going to be
that's a theater movie, man.
Oh yeah.
All right, so those two are both June 28th, and then Jackson, I want to throw to you specifically for you and I to discuss the July 5th, 2024, the third Ty West X
Oh,
trilogy, Maxine, coming to
finally.
theaters. Finally, I saw a trailer the other day.
I mean, we're spoiled because the first two came out like months apart.
Right. And we're just also so fucking X-pilled, right? And like you
They,
A
and
little
I,
bit,
they
yeah.
did the Horizon thing there too.
they did. Well, that's the thing is we watched X and then we watched Pearl a couple months later. Or no, that was the thing is we knew Pearl was coming out. We hadn't
Right,
seen
so we
X.
watched X.
We watched X and then went to Pearl and we were like,
It just hit us at the right time. We were like, these are great.
yeah, and it ended with a tease for Maxine. So we were like, we've just spent all the time since then being like, Maxine when? It's Maxine now, and I'm pumped for it, and I will probably watch X and Pearl like 3 times each before July because those movies got me.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad we have a date on that because I didn't realize that was finally coming up, but I'm excited.
Yeah, it's here. We're doing it. All right, Deepak, I texted you. I am going to force your ass to come up home on the weekend of July 19th so we can sit in some 4DX theaters and watch Glenn Powell in Twisters.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now if I've even seen the original. It's one of those that I have like memories of. Yeah, Letterboxd says I've seen it. I just don't remember much about it.
Thank
So
you,
I need
Bruno.
to rewatch that.
Thank you, Bruno.
I need to remember. I need to watch that.
Can we get a
Rewatch
side
it.
view on that bad boy? Just to see how thick he is?
A side
What is
view.
it? What are we looking at?
Yeah, oh, look at that chunk. This is Bruno's Twister collection.
Oh yeah, you told us about this. Yeah.
So this contains just like a multitude of like just photos from the set, as well as just like a single frame from the 35mm reel that they had for the movie. I'm really excited for Twister. I'm here for it, and I think
let's all go see that.
Yeah.
It was one of those
Sure.
things that I didn't
I'll
expect us
reiterate.
to be like talking about on the podcast, but here we are.
Oh,
It
no,
looks
I'm glad
so
you brought that
good.
up. And, well, the thing is, the trailer, again, saw it yesterday or whatever with Godzilla. It looks great. But again, I'll reiterate that my main source of fascination with this movie is that it's directed by Lee Isaac Chung, who did Minari a few years ago. And it's just the strangest in my mind, I can think of like the director and the movie coming together. Makes no sense to me. So it's either going to be a disaster or it's going to be brilliant. But yeah,
Well, Frank
I'll
Marshall's
definitely check
producing
it out.
it. Anthony Ramos, Daisy Edgar Jones. Like, I think this thing's gonna be a slam dunk. I don't see a bad piece in the math puzzle.
I'm very sorry to see that you skipped over a movie that I did.
Yeah, I also saw that you skipped over something.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sorry.
not a theater movie. It's a Netflix movie, but they are doing Beverly Hills Cop 4.
Oh,
July 3rd.
I am.
Yes, Eddie
All
is
right.
back. Apologies, you are right. So Eddie is okay. Let's get everybody. So Eddie is back in Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. July 3rd. It's him, Taylor Page, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. There has been for a long time a project
Judge
floated
Reinhold's
that
back.
is
John Ashton's back. Paul Reiser's back.
yes. The whole bit is that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is his new partner and future son-in-law. And once again, Eddie Murphy on Netflix, unsatisfied with his daughter dating a white man. Bruno, what was the project that I skipped for you? Project Artemis?
No.
Skywalker, a love story?
So coming out June 21st is Jeff Nichols.
Not what you think it is.
So it's coming out June 21st is Jeff Nichols' Bike Riders. And like, I mean, just like I've been very excited for this movie since the first trailer came out last year, and then after it got delayed, I was very disappointed. With it coming out this year, I'm like willing to even talk back against everyone saying that Austin Butler deserves a supporting actor nomination, because I think he's going to get a lead actor nomination from Bike Riders when this one comes out.
Damn.
And then we can just give the supporting actor nomination to Javier Bardem, because I think he deserves it more anyways. But that's a completely separate story.
Lisa Nagaib. All right, I only have 2 or 3 more to talk about before we head out of here. The first one is on July 26th, we will get Deadpool and Wolverine. We've talked about this movie a lot. I think we're all pretty excited about it.
The sole MCU movie this year.
The only superhero movie.
That's a good thing. Don't look at that as a bad thing.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
movie.
Next year they're having 4 MCU movies. I would just like to point out there's 4 MCU movies coming out next year.
They're coming back. We're getting one this year because they pushed 2.
We're getting Joker 2 and Venom 3.
Yes. Fair enough. All right. No details have yet been announced for M. Night Shyamalan's picture Trap, which comes out August 2nd. I also didn't mention the picture he's producing that comes out earlier in the year that is directed by his daughter. But there will be a Summer of Shyamalan that I'm sure we will talk about on this show. The Borderlands movie starring Cate Blanchett comes out presumably August 9th. Jack Black has described Claptrap
Disguised himself and snuck onto the cast.
As
has
Claptrap.
described Claptrap as a rated R R2D2. The cast also includes Kevin Hart.
Is the movie rated R?
Edgar Ramirez.
I think it
Jamie
is.
Lee Curtis. I believe it
Pretty
is.
floored if it wasn't.
It's pretty crazy. Actually, they might actually pan out then.
The trailer did say shit and bitches quite a bit.
It's a very raunchy series. It would be difficult to do justice to.
If it was
Then,
like
yeah.
anything aside from R.
If it was trying to do a
I have actually played a
PG-13
little
Borderlands movie.
I have actually played a little bit of Borderlands. So
That's my issue with like
I hope-
most of
I
these
hope-
movies and then the upcoming Thunderbolts is that like at the end of the day they all come off too much Suicide Squad-y.
Mhm.
PG-13ification of it is challenging. Apparently, Borderlands has not gone through the MPAA yet.
I mean, sure.
And then I really just round out with Aliens Romulus that we already spoke of in the roundup, Horizon Chapter 2, which we already spoke of earlier, and then, I mean, the biggest movie of the summer.
we're
the
getting
thing we're all-
Kraven the Hunter. That's
the
another
thing we're all
superhero.
sitting on the edge of our seats for, Kraven the Hunter, which will release August 30th, and will, of course, be as big as both Madam Web and Morbius, two of the biggest movies to date.
Hey guys.
I am
Of all
going to
time.
hold out hope for Kraven because it's going to be rated R. It has a very interesting director in J.C. Chandler, and the cast has some good names in it. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Academy Award winner Ariana DeBose,
Cowboy shit.
Academy Award winner Russell Crowe.
Cowboy shit.
So yeah, let's see what happens. I'm gonna be.
Have you seen the
cautiously
trailer?
optimistic. I have seen it. I think without the sound on.
Allow
Okay,
me.
so you haven't heard Russell Crowe's Russian accent.
No, but Russell Crowe badly needs a new agent.
That is
I
very
like
true.
how every picture Russell Crowe picks up these days, it's as if you know that story about how Michael Caine was like, I took Jaws 4 because I was on the first page and I was on the last page.
Mhm.
Yeah, he wanted to pay off his house or something.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, that's the other gag he always does is I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen the house it bought. Russell
Yeah, that was
Crowe,
one of the Jawses.
I feel like Russell Crowe's line these days is like, as long as the character I'm playing is allowed to eat as many sandwiches as he wants, I will play the guy. Like Russell Crowe was the Gladiator 20 years ago, right?
Mhm.
And now he's fucking Zeus in Love and Thunder because he can just load up on hoagies while he's not on set.
Watch out, because he's
Well,
gonna
he
be
is on set.
he's gonna be a Wolverine variant in Deadpool Wolverine too. Just watch.
Is he really?
We should get what's his name? Yeah, get him and get the
No.
guy who's
So
that unnamed dude that was bumping around the set before they got Jackman when they asked Crow and Crow was like, "Go get Jackman."
I'm ready to see Aaron Taylor Johnson
Oh, it was
show
Doug
up.
Ray Scott, the bad guy in Mission Impossible 2.
Yeah, get him.
I'm ready to see Aaron Taylor Johnson show up in Deadpool and Wolverine and just be the butt of every joke involving Quicksilver, Kick-Ass, or Kraven.
Yeah.
I just want listen. There are rumors boiling right now that Aaron Taylor Johnson has been cast to be James Bond. And I just want to know how MGM and the Broccoli's expect to deal with what will certainly be a 5 to 7 picture Kraven the Hunter arc that our guy is going to be obliged to with Sony.
They'll have to write around it, I guess. They'll CG out his mustache.
I'm still not sold on him. I mean, I think I'd be fine with him being Bond, but I don't. That's
If you guys make me go watch that movie in the theater, if he actually gets his powers from a fucking lion blood thing, I'm gonna walk out of the theater. Like at that moment, I'll clock how long I've been in that movie. I'll bring it up in the Watchmen, but like I'm not gonna watch anything else. I swear to God.
He's a bit of a hunter, isn't he? All right.
We done?
On the back side of this break, we end the show. This has been Nerded Here Weekly. Thank you so much for listening. Before we get going, we're going to hit you with some pop culture recommendations. These are things we've been watching, eating, reading, playing, or listening to that we've enjoyed recently and we think you might dig too. And to welcome him to the more permanent rotation, let's go ahead and start with Bruno.
I mean, I'm always going to be a defender of the nostalgia when it comes to this show, and so I'm always going to talk about X-Men 97, because that has been a really great trip down memory lane. They have been doing a lot of great things with it. Much like the original series, they're just taking things almost like directly from the comics and adapting them, and I'm having a lot of fun following that. The latest episode they've done like a lot of things that are like, I almost question if it's like family friendly. I don't know if Riley's seen it or not, but like you guys may know what I'm talking about. But yeah, like we're not even halfway into the show, and I'm already very excited about like how far it's gonna go and like what else they're gonna be doing.
They are absolutely pushing the bounds of what that show was allowed to do in the 90s, and I am very tickled by it. Jackson, what do you have?
Yeah, with the release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I've kind of wanted to go back to that, but I didn't want to spend $70 on it, or 60 hours on a third of a game. So I picked up the original, which was $5 on sale at the time. It probably isn't anymore, but it's probably not a lot more than that, because it's a 25-year-old video game. And it's fun. It's a good time. You know, I'm a big believer that like the older technology and visuals of some of these games contributes a lot to the vibe, and it's fun seeing these little polygonal people run around, and I'm constantly surprised by how much is still in that game even back then. So it's a good time.
As someone who got absolutely FF7 pilled from the remakes, I went back and played the original recently, and even to me, it was like experiencing a nostalgia I had never experienced. Be like, oh look, my friends, they look so old.
Look at how chonky they all are and scrungly.
Deepak?
Between the recording of this and the posting of this, we are in the final week of probably my second all-time favorite show, Curb Your Enthusiasm, which will end in the upcoming week, I think April 7th. So pour one out for a real one. 12 seasons. It probably should have ended a while ago, but they're ending on a relatively high note. The season's been pretty funny so far. So, Curb.
Good shit. I was trying to think of something less on brand, but I don't want to stall forever. So I've been on a Lynch kick, which isn't super surprising for me. But I watched Blue Velvet for the first time last week. I'm gonna go ahead and watch the. It's got, much like a couple other Lynch films I enjoy, Blue Velvet has a shit ton of deleted scenes. So I think there'll probably be a weekend coming pretty soon where I try and cut those back into the movie using the shooting script. And this is actually a small piece of a bigger project I have running that I've teased Deepak with, where I'm gonna try and cut together just a movie-length cut of Twin Peaks using only footage David Lynch directed. So that's going to be a project I'm just personally working on for myself later in the year, because I joked about last year being my year of the samurai, but if the first third of this calendar year is any indication, this is the year of me watching Twin Peaks nonstop. So
I have to admit, I'm fucking shocked you have not seen Blue Velvet yet.
It was.
I was surprised also.
I will say this part of it, and we can cut this if it's too much for the show, but you know, the first time I watched it, and I think this is a common experience a lot of people have, I got to the scene where he's in the closet and Dennis Hopper comes in, and I just couldn't.
The face mask, the oxygen mask.
Baby wants to fuck. Yeah, like that's where I bail. Is Baby wants to fuck, right? And I think that like that's where a lot of people bail the first time. Yeah, no, I like Lynch. It's just he takes a lot, you know, like he demands. He demands your attention in a way few directors, you know, there's Deepak knows that I've been comparing him and Spike Lee for a couple reasons, but like those two guys, I feel like few others fucking force you to look at the screen. And so yeah, I've been enjoying some high octane, very, very upsetting movies. lately. That's what I've been doing. Hey, also, I had a really good cheeseburger. It was from Steve's Burger in DC.
Oh yeah, we did have a good cheeseburger.
This has been Nerded Here Weekly. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed listening to the show, we hope you'll check it out our YouTube channel. And this show, like all of our many productions, was produced by Bruno Meneses. And our art is by Wiki Rascals, who you can get at Wiki Rascals on Instagram. Our music is by Purple Planet, who you can follow at purpleplanet.com. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at Nerd Here First, and you can subscribe to this show at nerdherefirst.com to get you access to the Nerd Out, our weekly deep dive on dorky diatribes, where for just $5 a month, you get 4 extra episodes of the show every week. This week, we are geeking out about we just drafted some X-Men. What else have we done recently? We
Talked about
declared-
Monarch, talked about
we
Godzilla.
talked about Monarch and Godzilla.
We're about to talk about JoJo.
Yes, that's right. Jack's anime one is coming up next. So we've got all sorts of a wide variety of topics. We're casting a big net, and if you want to check out that show for free, all one word, Super Mario Bros. SUPERMARIO BROS.
Is that a new game?
We'll get you.
Never heard of this.
We'll get you a month of free subscriptions to the Nerd Out because we appreciate you so much. And listening this far into the show, you deserve a little freebie. And as always, don't forget to tune in next week to hear. Life is a great big bang up wherever.